It's curious as to how they've even risen to the positions of power. I was talking about this at length yesterday with someone that I know about, like someone like Kamala Harris. Like, how does someone like a Kamala Harris? Now, she's not stupid, but she's also not brilliant. I mean, you could see the folks that get it, the folks that understand how the world works and have common sense and intelligence and integrity. I mean, those are not necessarily all of the prerequisites, but if I'm walking down the hall and somebody asks me a question, I answer it, right? Or if I'm having a conversation with you and you ask me something, I answer it. I answer it to the best of my ability. I try to gather as much information as I can, and then we talk about it. Now, I feel as though a lot of the people in positions of power, they have no idea what the hell they're talking about 90% of the time. And if they're not reading from a script, they don't know anything. And that goes up from that starts from the top and trickles down for sure. And you can include Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and some of the others in that. And it's very frustrating. You think the founding fathers read from scripts, or do they speak from their heart? Does anybody speak from their heart on the national scene, or is it all so calculated because they don't want to make any mistakes? God forbid they say something off the cuff that might ruffle the feathers of some folks. And then you've just got people who are A, have little moral compass, and B, have just lost their way and are either too old for the job has passed them by, or they're so inebriated, confused, that they actually can't handle the job anymore. And here's some audio from Nancy Pelosi. Remember, Nancy Pelosi is the third most powerful person. You can make an argument, the third most powerful person in the world. Okay? In the world. And she was addressing some reporters at a legislative agenda. This comes from Sky News. I'm not making this up. This is not edited. This is Nancy Pelosi trying to have a conversation, okay, with reporters, trying to explain some stuff to reporters. Now, I know I don't always make sense. Sometimes I start down a path and I have to call an audible and I take a left turn or a right turn and I start talking about something else, or I find myself in a situation where I have to say, oh, hold on a second, none of that made any sense. Let me redo that. Let me explain exactly what's going on. But never in my life, never. And this is the third most powerful person, argumentatively, in the world, trying to address folks in the media.
We're sending stuff over to the Senate. Well, most of the product that we've done is, except now we may have added in the last day or so, and some of what we added is Senate to the bill, like a hearing. Bernie doesn't like hearing. Excuse me, Bernie loves hearing. Manchin doesn't want hearing in the bill and all that stuff. So some is Senate-oriented, and then we had the family medical leave. We figured if they're putting things in, then we can put something in, even if Manchin doesn't like it. So we are getting some bird and privilege. I think mostly we're getting privilege scrub, because privilege scrub is deadly to a bill. Birdable, it's important. It's you have to take it out, but privilege violation can take you out.
What is that? What was that? Biden is the same way. Kamala Harris cannot get through a speech without a cackling laugh of embarrassment to the United States of America. That's 1, 2, and 3. That's 1, 2, and 3 in people of power. That's an embarrassment. When your time has come and gone, it's time for you to leave. It's time for Nancy Pelosi to find something else to do. It was time for Joe Biden to find something else to do a decade ago. And Kamala Harris is just not cut out for that job. And those are your three most powerful people, technically, if you exclude the people who are actually pulling the strings behind the scenes, in the world. Now, if that doesn't make you a little nervous hearing that, I don't know what will. Right? These are people who are negotiating for you, digging into your pocket to fund things that they think are smart. And what do? We just let it keep happening. We just keep putting these same people back in power over and over and over and over again. Now, those three, two of the three, have been in power forever. Kamala Harris has been in power for a long time, but Joe and Nancy, they've been around for over 40 years. And again, what exactly, one thing, please, I'm begging you, one signature piece of legislation that Joe Biden wrote, created, championed, that has made your life better. Same goes for Dick Blumenthal. Same goes for Chris Murphy. Give me one. One! They've been in office, not so much Murphy, but they've been in office for decades, each one of them. And what do? We just keep putting them back. We just keep moseying on up to the polls. I recognize that number. Let me vote for him or her. So again, I blame you. I blame all of you. All of the voters. It's your fault. It's not Nancy Pelosi's fault. She loves the fact that she has immense power. It's not Joe Biden's fault. I mean, he would give up anything to have been president, and probably did. Probably sold his soul. I don't blame Kamala Harris. She was on a power trip from day one. We know how she got to where she got. I'm not blaming them. They were thirsty for power. They decided to take a certain avenue. They got it. It's your fault. You blew it. You voted for these folks over and over again. If you voted for Dick Blumenthal, shame on you. Shame on you! Because you're part of the problem. If you didn't like the fact that the orange man said some things that made you feel uncomfortable, and you voted for Biden, it's your fault. I'm sorry. The situation that we're in is your fault. I'm not saying Trump would have made it any better. I don't know. I have no idea. God, couldn't have made it worse, could he? I mean, honestly. Let's be honest. Even if you hated him. Even if you couldn't stand him. Is it possible that any other person on the planet would have made this worse? Y'all voted in the worst possible choice for president and vice president of the United States. Couple that with that woman who doesn't know what's going on. Please, somebody out there explain to me what she was doing the night of the State of the Union. What was she doing behind Joe Biden when he was telling a sad story, and again, about his son dying? What was that seal clap she was doing at that point? Can anybody answer those questions for me? If Ted Cruz was sitting behind Donald Trump and got up and did a crazy seal clap when Trump was talking about somebody with cancer, it would have been national news for months. Why is it that we just ignore the fact that these folks are completely inept? That they have no idea what they're doing anymore. They've lost it. Now, back in the day, they certainly were shrewd to get to where they are. And what happens is they built up this immense power. Nancy Pelosi and all the folks that are in her orbit, they make sure they keep her afloat, because without her, they lose their job. So when they put her up in those situations, same goes for Biden, and they have to actually try to do this on their own, they can't. Now, we have some folks out there who can, at a certain age, can function at a high level. Into their 80s, into their 90s, and beyond in some cases. These folks cannot. Not everybody can. Go talk to your doctor. They'll be the first one to tell you. When things start to slip on you as you get older, it's just age. Well, Nancy Pelosi lost the shrewdness, the cunning. I mean, it's still deep in her DNA. If she has to drag it out, I'm sure she can lash out when she needs to. But she can't. You think that these folks, you think Joe Biden, do you know what it takes to be president of the United States? You know how much time it takes? Look how much somebody like Obama, who went in as a young man, how much they age in 8 years. It looks like they aged 40 years in some cases, 30, 40 years by the time they're done. Why? Because it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They don't go home for the weekend to take naps while the world is on fire. No, that doesn't happen. That's not what a real president does. A real president's 24/7, 7 days a week. And when they're asked about issues, they stand up and answer the questions without notes or a teleprompter because they know it in their heart already. It doesn't have to be fed to them. I play you 90 seconds of audio from the third most powerful person on the planet, and nobody out there, not one of you, can explain to me what the hell she was talking about. Not one! Not one. So it's your fault. You blew it. You keep voting in inept people because you recognize the name or because maybe they shook your hand at a parade or they showed up at a parade. You don't even know what half of the policies are for these folks. You have no idea. Oh, well, liberal agendas. We want to help everybody. That's great. That's a wonderful thing. Let's make sure we peeling off $100 bills and handing them out. And the rich will end up paying for it. And they con you into this idea that somehow their way is better. Life's not fair. So all of a sudden you become a victim. And then it's okay to take a handout or it's okay to have somebody else pay your light bill or your water bill. And listen, I get it. If you're physically or mentally unable to do it, it's one thing. It's exhausting to fight this fight constantly. We look at our politicians. Not all of them. Many of them. And it's disappointing. What we have is disappointing.